really don't like to run. So I don't know. I think he hates me. I think that's why he did it.
Well, I love having mantras. I like your mantra. I've got a couple of my own. I think that they do work and they are powerful. I asked about meditation. I was listening to a podcast this morning with David Meltzer and Aubrey Marcus, and they were talking about meditation. You know the old line, just take a deep breath. You know, if something bad, it's actually technically it's 6 deep breaths. It's not 1. It takes 6 deep breaths for your mind to start to reset. And I thought that was really fascinating because everybody says, hey, take a deep breath, but take 6 deep breaths. So I'm going to pass that out to the world because I heard it this morning. It's probably true.
That's awesome. That's really good. Yeah, I like that. So I normally do 3. So 6, if that's it, then that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, that's 6. So, well, look, I love your energy. I want to hear about where this came from. Where did life begin for you? You know, we talked to a lot of guests about their childhood and their formation of how their parents taught them hard work and ethics and things like that. And some went to college, some didn't. Where do you think your journey began when you look back that got you on a path? And we'd love to hear about some of the struggles that you had or didn't have.
Yeah, so both of my parents went to a trade school. I know we talked about that this morning.
Yeah.
About that being powerful. Both of them did. My dad had his own mechanic business, Audi mechanic.
Okay.
And then my mom was an X-ray tech, and so she worked at USC. And so they always just, I feel like I had a really good childhood. Like I look back and it's like, I don't really have any, sad sob stories. My parents got divorced when I was 10, but I don't look at that as a sad sob story. I look at that as a great thing because they're obviously meant to be apart. I do believe in divorce, when it comes to that. And then my mom ended up getting together with someone who I think has inspired me a lot in life, my stepdad, and he has his own business as well. So I had 2 very, in my mind, very powerful men in my life that I was close with that have their own business. And so it was just kind of like thought that that's what you're supposed to have. And I remember, I think it was my dad who always just kind of ingrained it in my mind that, oh no, you have to make at least $100,000 a year. And I was like 10, so when you think I'm 34 now, when you think about that, that's actually a lot. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot of money.
Yeah, so like I always had that in my mind, like, okay, you have to make 100,000. Okay, great. They have their own business. Okay, great. And then, but I was just kind of lost. They didn't believe in college as well. I'm not saying that it's bad, but wasn't going to be a lawyer or anything like that. And so they were very fine with whatever I chose, which I think is really important because I have a little brother who is 13 years younger than me. We're super close. And he was raised very differently. And he was raised where my stepdad, his family is very much about college. They're very smart. There's dentists, pharmacists, stuff like that. It's a very different path, which is funny because he went to college, but he wasn't one of the scholars like some of the engineers and stuff in his family. But my brother was really, really, really forced. Like in high school, he just always remembers hearing, you have to go to college, you have to go to college, you have to go to college, you have to go to college. So that just failed for him miserably. He's about to turn 21 and he had an awful college experience. He totally wasted a ton of money. He's not even in college anymore.
Wow.
So, not to get off subject, but that's just a difference in how I was raised. So I didn't have those pressures. I was able to do what I wanted to do, which was fashion. Actually, I either wanted to go into fashion or I wanted to be a murder investigator, which is
interesting.
Completely separate. Totally random. Yeah, I'm very into crime and stuff like that. It's interesting to me. So I knew that I wanted to be around snow. We went to Mammoth a lot when I was a kid. So I love snow, love snowboarding. And so I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll go. There was a school, Colorado in Fort Collins. And they had supposedly two great programs for what I wanted to do. And I was just going to figure it out. Well, I was 17 when I graduated from high school just based on my birthday. And so I was going to be out of state for all 4 years. And I was like, I don't know how I was so responsible money-wise back then, but I'm like, that sounds like way too much money, So I was like, even my parents were like, oh, whatever you want to do. But they always made me pay for everything, which I thank them for so much.
Yeah.
They never paid for my phone. They never paid for my car. They never paid for my insurance. I paid for everything. And what's funny is that go back to my little brother, poor little brother, picking on him, but they paid for everything for him because he was a scholar, and so he got better grades, and like, you know, they wanted to reward him. That guy doesn't know like what a dollar is, you know? So I like, again, totally different. So I was more of like I think I was built more by like a survivor mode as opposed to scholar route, which I think really helped me because I understand, you know, I understood what goes into it, what goes into hard work, because I always had to fend for myself. So anyways, long story short, I do
want to ask you about something though. So I'm sorry to cut you off here because I think what you said is so important. That your parents made you pay for everything. Now, I'm sure they put a roof over your head and you had meals on the table and clothes to go to school and things like that with. But, you know, like myself, I also had to pay for everything. If I wanted, you know, a nicer outfit, you know, if I wanted to go to Nordstrom's, I had to buy that. If I wanted my first car, I had to save up and buy for that, or a surfboard or like, and you know, I also thank my parents for that because it added some values. Can you just talk about that for a second, especially when your parents were telling you need to pay for things? How did you feel about it then? And clearly we know how you feel about it now. You're very grateful for that.
Yeah, I just thought it was normal. So what's interesting is I think, I don't know if they did it on purpose or what, but I grew up in, well, I now know, I grew up in a very rich area, richer than normal. And I always thought that we were the poor family that just happened to live in the area. But I mean, I don't know why I thought that. Probably because everyone around me got things and I had to pay for everything. But I didn't feel like mad about it. You know, it was just what I had to do. I don't know. Like, and so I just remember thinking, oh, well, my rich friends, you know, I'm like around rich friends. But it didn't take until I was later on in life. I'm like, wait a minute, we lived in the same neighborhood. Like, how did, you know, like it's just the parents, my parents thought differently than their parents, you know? So I think that's really interesting. And that's something that I am definitely going to continue with my own kids and making sure that they, you know, I'm not going to give them allowance. Like all of my friends had an allowance. So, but again, I don't remember thinking like, oh, I can't believe I don't have an allowance. It was just, that's just what it was.
Yeah, sure.
You know? So yeah, I didn't know any difference as opposed to like my friends. And they were like always complaining about, you know, dumb stuff when it came to that, you know? And yeah, I asked for a phone. Okay. This is actually a really funny story. Of course I asked for a phone for my 16th birthday and all my friends had phones, of course. And they all had cars. Whatever. I didn't even ask for a car. I asked for a phone. And so we had a big birthday party at my house. And of course, the last presents from my parents and everyone's around me. And I open what looks like this giant Zach Morris phone, you know, from Saved by the Bell. It's this giant phone. And I was still so excited. I didn't really care that I didn't have a cool phone. And they go, okay, so you can only call 911. Because my argument to them was, what if I have an emergency?
Yeah.
And they thought that was the funniest thing. And I was mortified. Like I was so, now that I do remember being very mad, but I think that me being mad and them trying to make it funny was exactly what I needed because I'm like, I'll show them that I'm going to go buy my own phone, you know, and I did. So I think that what drives me is really someone telling me no, telling me I can't do it. It's like with the marathon. People told me you can't do it. This is stupid. You're crazy. So when anyone tells me that, I almost am like so excited inside to go do it because I love proving people wrong.
Yeah, sure.
I love making a reaction out of things. I'm very dramatic, but I'm very rational. So yeah, that's a very clear memory for me.
So as you bounced around trying to earn your own money, younger in life, you know, where did you land? What were some of your first jobs and first experiences in life from that perspective?
I've had really cool jobs. So in high school, I taught swim lessons and I was a lifeguard. And I always had jobs that I thought were really fun and that paid a little bit more. Like it wasn't just like the normal jobs that everyone does as a kid. And then when I lived in Tahoe, I was a spa attendant, which you get tips. I was always into like extra stuff.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't want just like what's my hourly? No extra stuff. Just like with swim lessons. Oh, if I work on Sundays, I get extra stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So I worked on Sundays. And then I went to bartending school. I was a cocktail waitress, bartender. Again, extra stuff, tips. But I also worked in a clothing store. But I made sure I worked in a clothing store that gave commission.
Oh,
so I've always been like that. But I worked in a clothing store because I thought I wanted to open my own store.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to FITM, technically a trade school, but the most expensive one you can go to. Still paying for it. That's over. But and then I realized I got out and I'm like, okay, great. I have all these wonderful skills. I can open up my own store. And then all of a sudden I sat down and I was like, Brianna, you're such an idiot. You need money to open a store. That didn't occur to you in these last 2 years that you need money to open up a store. And so it was never an option for me to just go, hey, parents, so can I have some funding to open up a store?
Mm-hmm.
That was never a thing.
Yeah.
Which again, I'm thankful for. So that's how I got into, bartending. I'm like, oh, I know how I can make fast cash. I'll be a bartender. Well, that was super fun, but not smart. And then I was like, okay, so now I still don't have any money. I've partied way too much. I need a real job. Where's my real job, right? And so my stepdad, I was saying he does sales. And so I was like, okay, I will have to be in sales. That's how you can make a lot of money.
Uh-huh.
And that's how you can make a lot of money without having a certain, degree. So I was, I put up my resume on Monster, kind of floundering. I had a good friend of mine take me out to dinner, and she was like, okay, I just became a recruiter in financial. I do financial recruiting, accounting, stuff like that. I go, I have no idea what you're talking about. What is a recruiter? And so she explained it to me, and very, very random. And I do believe in fate and karma and all that stuff.
Sure.
Is I had someone call me and goes, hey, I just found your resume on Monster. Have you ever heard of recruiting? And I'm literally sitting down with my friend,
wow.
at dinner.
Wow.
Talking about it. I was like, and I was blown away. And I was
wow.
like, oh my God, I freaked out. And anyways, long story short is 2 days later, they hired me. And I started on my path of recruiting, and I stayed at that firm for a little less than 2 years. Something happened that didn't sit very well with me. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of I was making really good money.
Yep.
And I was 23. And I had to leave. I don't know. I had an epiphany that
sure.
we weren't doing things right. I liked what I did, but we weren't doing things right. So I just walked out. I walked out on a Friday, and I was the top salesperson at the time. And so of course my boss wasn't, we were close. My boss was not happy, and he just assumed I was going somewhere else. And I said, no, I don't have a plan. I have literally no plan. I'm a stupid 23-year-old just walking out the door. I was making over 100, and I just walked out the door. And he goes, well, do me a favor. If I can fix this, will you come back? I'm like, absolutely. So he goes, okay, give me until Tuesday at noon. He actually put a time on it.
Wow, that's impressive.
And I said, okay. So yeah, put a time on it, and celebrated the weekend. My mom bawled her eyes out, begged me to go back. But I was at a Laker game with my stepdad, and he simply asked me, what does he do for you that you can't do for yourself?
Uh-huh. And
I go, I don't know. I have no idea how to run a business. I have no idea. He was just saying, no. I'm not talking about running a business. That you'll just learn. But what does he actually provide for you mm-hmm. that you can't go by yourself, or you can't train yourself to do, or you can't, really nitty gritty? And I was like, nothing. I really thought, nothing. He goes, so why don't you start your own business? And I'm like, And I'm thinking to myself, well, I guess that's an option, but still wasn't really in my mind an option. It was just something I was kicking around. He got me a little excited about, but I was like, okay. Anyways, Tuesday at noon comes and goes. And I go, well, okay. And I started Techees.
It's a sign.
Yeah, it was a sign. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I started Techees. Well, what's funny is he called me Wednesday the next day before noon.
Uh-huh.
And I said to him, sorry, it's too late.
Good for you.
And that was it.
You glossed over something that I want to go back to because I think it's important.
Sure.
You had mentioned when you stepped away from your job on Friday, you were making $100K.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking back when you were a kid, your parents set the standard of you needed to make 100K. So you were making 100K in your early 20s.